Why, hello and welcome back to a podcast where I talk about going from corporate drone to corporate dropout, where I talk about all the chaos and fuckery that happens when you are a small business owner in the fitness and gaming space and just in general. Welcome back to Chaos and Fuckery. You know it, you love it. Welcome back to Chaos and Fuckery. I can't do my own intro. I change it all the fucking time, y'all. Anyways, today we are talking about fitness stuff because I want to talk about fitness stuff on this podcast because my business is literally fitness stuff. It's also gaming stuff, but you know, it's fitness stuff. Want to deep dive? This might not go over so well because, good lord, I want to deep dive the push of fitness culture back to misogyny and conservatism. Because a lot of people have talked about over the years that the fitness culture kind of leads to being, you know, red-pilled or conservative. Most people who are in the gym are probably right-leaning. And reality is I'm a very centrist human being. I have very right-leaning views. I have very left-leaning views. For a long time, I know a lot of people hate this saying, always kind of said I am socially liberal, fiscally conservative, but I'm not even fully socially liberal. Not that my own politics really matter in this conversation, because they don't. So one of the first trends I noticed going along the fitness industry was skinny talk. As we were getting closer to the summer, the typical get summer body ready marketing bullshit started coming out. In about March, April, that's typically when it comes around in the fitness space, and you kind of expect to see it. You don't want to be fat in your bikini and blah blah blah. You see that from the bigger companies like Ladder and, you know, these AI coach bullshit things. Spoiler alert, AI is never gonna replace a coach, because at the end of the day, if you couldn't just put it in an app and do it yourself that way, AI is not gonna fucking help you. Anyways, like Noom, all of that is bullshit. Anyways, and I don't just say that because I am a coach. I say that because I tried shit like that and it doesn't work. When you have accountability to another physical human being, also when you have accountability to your wallet, you are more likely to do it. When you're paying someone, you are either going to cancel and say, hey, I'm not using your services, I don't want to pay you anymore, or you're going to push through it because you're spending the fucking money. It's the same thing with my business thing. It's why, you know, things like weekly or monthly subscription models have become a thing, because it keeps people on the line to keep paying you and doing the shit. Anyways, that's not important. That is a business strategy thing. Anyways, the fitness space, one of the first things I noticed was skinny talk. And that slowly started reminding me of the early 2000s era where, like, I was a young kid, but boy, were my body image issues like rampant in that era. Why? Because everyone told me I was fat when I was 9 years old and growing and put a little extra body fat in. Everyone told me I was fat when I was 12 years old and going through puberty. Everyone told me I was fat when I danced 5 hours a night, and even though I might have gained a little weight, could, you know, easily take it the fuck off. And then I ended up with an eating disorder. Yeah, welcome to the early 2000s where low-rise jeans made everyone have to have six-packs to even look like a decent human being. Yeah. Anyways, skinny talk is reminding me of that because we went through an era that I loved recently. Post early 2000s, in my opinion, kind of post the height of body positivity, we went into the muscle mommy era, where people were obsessed, and now we've taken it a little too far, but we're obsessed with macros and hitting our protein and lifting heavy shit in the gym and being muscly. And, you know, we always talk about wanting to be toned. That word finally left the industry, not left the industry, but left most people's thought processes. It wasn't about being toned, it was about being fucking strong. And that era is my favorite era. That was mostly introduced, if you really look at it, by CrossFit and being able to do Olympic lifts and the things that come with CrossFit. Now, CrossFit has its goods and bads, don't get me wrong, but it has goods, and that era was a good of the CrossFit thing, was women especially getting excited about being strong. And I'm going to focus mostly on women because while my clientele aren't solely women, I've 10, like, that is my own experience in the fitness industry, right? I am a woman in the fitness industry. And I have noticed that even amongst my coaching groups, right, a lot of the women who are coaches are powerhouse coaches, if you will. And this is nothing against them. They're amazing coaches, but they're like coaches for moms or coaches for the elderly, and I get it. That's your community. That's your experience. But I very rarely see a female bodybuilding coach. And that's why I love creators like Kenzie and Alex, that while I think a lot of the influencer companies they work for are extremely overhyped, I do enjoy the fact that they are putting a positive image on, women in the bodybuilding space and women supporting women and women in fitness in general, right? Yes, they are both enhanced influencers, which there's no problem with that because they are open and honest about it. Unlike most of these butt builder coaches that are not. Anyways, that's a completely different topic. Honesty in the fitness industry, I could do a whole episode on that alone. What I was going to say is we seem to be moving away from the era of women being strong and back to the women being skinny. And that, I firmly believe, comes from the push towards conservatism just in the world in general right now, and these social typical standards of women. That we are meek and mild and dainty and we need to be rescued. And that we need to be that way. And while yes, time and place for everything, I can be meek and mild and rescue me husband moments for sure. I would definitely much rather him, rack his own pew-pews in a situation where, someone's trying to break into our house. I can do that, don't like to. Would rather him be home and do that. That is his thing. I would rather him change my oil. Can I do it? If I tried to learn, probably. Do I want to? No, I just pay someone to do it. But I pay someone to do it. He doesn't even have to do it. He does his own, but that's here nor there. I have my moments where I am an alpha female, and I have my moments where I get to be dainty, and I wouldn't say girly because I don't own a single skirt or dress, and I swear to God, if this conservative movement starts forcing that upon me, I will murder people. Jokes, obviously for legal reasons, that is a joke. Point being is we are no longer wanting women to be strong. And I think that comes from the fact that people think that when women are muscly or present that way, they look like men and act like men and become men, as some of these right-wing Charlie Kirk say. And apparently, women being strong alpha personalities is how we ended up with, if I can find the clip, I'll put it in here. But the clip is all of Charlie Kirk saying that basically women, trying to run companies is how we ended up with trans individuals. Total bullshit, obviously. But point being is that push has impacted the fitness industry, where we are back to thinking skinny and dainty and pretty over strong and muscly. And I don't like that. I don't like that for many reasons. A, because it is a push towards cardio again, because most people think cardio makes you skinny. And B, it is a push away from, women having a space in the gym again that isn't just cardio equipment. There were times where gyms had separate equipment, separate spaces specifically for women. And if it wasn't meant as an insult, I would love that, because I hate fighting grown-ass grunting men for the damn squat rack. Don't get me wrong. If it weren't meant as an insult to women, I would love having my own space with my own equipment. But the weights, from what I've been told, I obviously wasn't a part of that era. I think that was even possibly, before I was cognizant of what a gym was. From what I've heard about that era, gyms, had pink weights that didn't go over 10 pounds. It was like the little ankle weights and shit for women. And I do not want to see gyms go back to that. I love seeing gyms getting rid of cardio equipment and adding more squat racks, adding more bars, adding more fun, plate weighted machinery. If I had a bodybuilding or powerlifting gym near me, I would go to that instead of a commercial box gym. But A, the hours of availability of a gym like that typically don't fit my training schedule. And B, the only one in my dainty little town closed. As a content creator, I don't like creating content in a commercial gym because people are there to just enjoy themselves. So I love the idea of like powerlifting and very focused gyms because it allows me to also be a creator. But that's here nor there. The push towards skinny again. Is skinny talk problematic? As a business owner, not really. We can coach to all sorts of different things. I am literally working on a program for myself for a video right now that involves going to aerial silks, roller skating, and training in the gym. I'm also working on one that involves training with axes, going axe throwing and shit. So, you can train for just about anything. That is not really an issue. If you want to, be skinny, I think skinny is relative, and some people think skinny is a number. Some people think of skinny as a visual. Some people think skinny is a size of pants. It really is debatable, right? I like my body when it's thinner, but I hate the word toned, but I'm about to use it. Thinner, but toned. I don't want to be height of my eating disorder skinny, because that was scary. I don't think I'll ever be back to like a 00. Lord help me if I do. There's something wrong in my life. But I do like to have the muscle, right? This program I'm talking about would need the muscle to do aerial silks and lyra. That is a lot of upper body strength I don't know that I've ever maintained. But also part of that might be, getting back into gymnastics a little bit, stretching and flexibility, and the upper body and leg strength that is required to do something like a back handspring or tumbling passes is a lot. So, that type of strong but skinny is the body that I feel the most comfortable in, where I'm not, bodybuilder big, and I never wish that's not a me thing. Like, I like powerlifting, but like I also don't want muscle that if I leaned out to the point I would look like a bodybuilder. Like that, and I know it's not easy to become a bodybuilder. That's a me thing, right? I'm building the body that I most enjoy being in. And it's not, a runner's body. It is an athlete, I guess, is the way to put how I feel the most comfortable. But that's me. Someone next to me might feel, I know a lot of powerlifters carry, more body fat than, say, an athlete because of their training. So there are many different things that'll create many different body types. And that's why skinny talk is problematic. Because it is allowing people to say shit on the internet. And again, if I can find the clip, I will insert it here. That, if you're over 200 pounds, you shouldn't be in a Pilates class. Or it is allowing people to, and people are entitled to their own opinions, but, things like that take force on the internet, and it does impact the industry and how people view the industry. And that's the angle I'm going at here, not attacking people's opinions. Because people are allowed to say, you're an overweight coach, why would I trust you? That you are entitled to your opinion, but my body size currently does not impact the fact that I have a brain. My brain is how I coach you. And I get it. You want to see like discipline out of your coach. But what you also don't see when you just look at my body and you don't know my history, you don't watch my content, is that I still, to this day, even though I've been in recovery with a relapse or two, I'm sure, for an eating disorder for, over a decade, I have to still fight that every day. And my business mentor talks about this too, because he's openly talked about how he's an anorexic, and when he gets into the flow of business and things, his solution is just not eat all day, and then he pigs out at night. And that was my solution when I was an anorexic as well, except for I would go 2 or 3 days and then pig out at night. And I am very good at not remembering to eat, and that's why I always laugh when people try to jab at me about like put down the fries or whatever. Not eating is not my problem, truthfully. My problem that got me here in the fitness space was stress leading to alcohol consumption. Open and honest. That was what got me to the weight I'm in now. And that's the Skinny Talk Pilates conversation has started to show the conservative shift in the fitness industry. And it has always been more conservative. And being conservative is not a bad thing. Being modest is not a bad thing if that is your thing. The judgy people that cannot mind their own damn business are the bad thing. Bad thing for the industry, bad thing for coaches, bad thing. Gyms will never go away because of shit like this. Because, you know, people are obesity will never go away no matter how many foods we change because of, you know, bad actors like this, in my opinion. Shame works for a very select few of people. Very select few people. I unfortunately am a part of that hand, so I have to try very hard not to coach like I would like to be coached. Shaming me into an oblivion and giving me a challenge, basically saying, I can't do it, you'll never do it. That is the ultimate button for me as a human to make sure I do it. So when I got hate comments on the internet, well, that just motivated me to become even better than I am. With most people in the fitness space and weight loss space, that is not true. They need support. They need encouragement. They need, you know, accountability without being shamed. They need to feel safe and welcomed in the space that they're coming into. And I understand that. And I don't say safe as in like a safe space. They need you to be someone that they can tell open and honestly if they fucked up without feeling like they are going to be reamed to shit. And with the shift, we're getting more and more coaches that don't understand that. We are getting more and more people that want to rage bait clients on the internet into shame and, you know, not feeling comfortable with who they are. And I am of the mindset of body neutrality as a coach. I do believe people should want to and be able to improve themselves when they are overweight. I believe in the science that says, you know, obesity can cause other medical issues down the road. You may be fine right now, but you may see the impacts of being overweight when you're older. That is science. I believe in science. And so saying some of these, you know, mukbangers and things like that are completely normal and we should support that and promote that is the level of extremity that I've seen in body positivity that I don't like. I do believe people should be able to love themselves and want to improve. Part of loving yourself is wanting to improve and constantly push to be the next best thing. It is not a shame-worthy thing to, how do I put this? It is not a shame-worthy thing to want to improve and to want to lose weight, even if you have claimed to be body positive. And that's why I like body neutral. I don't care what you look like. I care what your goals are, being healthy and, you know, ultimate longevity. I don't care if you look like a bodybuilder or if that's your goal. If your goal is simply just be active every day and you don't want to do anything with the scale, I don't care. That is your goal and we can work towards that. If your goal is to be a bodybuilder, well, you're probably with the wrong coach because I don't, not that I couldn't coach a bodybuilder, it's just something I've never done and I'm not experienced enough to do that, and I will admit that. If you're training for a bodybuilding show, I'm definitely not the right coach. Go find a bodybuilder coach. But that's not the point. We're getting a lot of coaches in the fitness space that are deterring people from coming into the fitness space. And I don't want to ever be that coach, for one, but for two, it is shrinking the trust clients have in, you know, the science, the credentials, studies. And this is happening across the board with just medical in general and science in general. When you have influencers that don't know what the fuck they're talking about, rage baiting on the internet and shaming people into wanting to be skinny, you get a lot of people losing mistrust in fitness as a whole because you have a lot of those people masquerading as coaches. And you've got people like V-Shred, and you've got people on both sides of the spectrum, right? You've got people like V-Shred and Myron for Fresh and Fit, and then you've got people like Will Tennyson, who is, I think, one of the largest, if not the largest, fitness creator on YouTube, who has lived in all sorts of body sizes, and I don't know him personally, seemed to be relatively down to earth. And, you know, he just did a bodybuilding show and earned a pro card on his first show, and now people are, like, picking apart his amateur show and everything else. And the reality is he did it, from my understanding from watching his video, just to prove that he could. not because it was something that is now becoming his life and personality. He still is going to be the creator he's always been. And he's very, good as a coach from what I've seen in the transformation videos. He doesn't do the coaching piece anymore. But the more I learn about Will as a creator, the more I respect him as a creator. And then you've got people like freaking Myron that are just idiotic. And there are people ruining the space and there are people bringing up the space, and the people ruining the space are of this right-wing conservative red-pilled men belong in the gym, women don't kind of mentality. Not all of them are that extreme, but a lot of them are. And the traditional gender roles and everything else comes into all of this. Because then you've got skinny talk and whatever, I'm gonna be pretty, whatever. And then you've got, the new trend of, yelling at women for what they wear in the gym. Now, I toe an interesting line on this one, because what you wear in the gym when you're working out is one thing. I don't give a shit. Wear what is comfortable to you. However, when you enter and exit that building, you should not be wearing the same thing. I also, toe a funny line with gyms that, are heavily focused on youth. Now, most sports bras and shorts are plenty covered and I don't care. But if you're pushing the line of like your tits popping out, maybe, we keep the pump cover on. I don't care, but I also understand parents caring about something like that. So if you're going to a commercial gym like the Y, maybe if it's at a time that there's going to be a lot of kids around and it's not your fault, right? It is not the person wearing it's just kind of a respect thing to me to, maybe keep the pump cover on if there's a bunch of kids around and you've got a super tiny, but that's not usually the case, right? Yes, people take these things to the extremes when I say I don't care, but like rules, if your gym has a rule against it, it is within their right as a private business to have a rule against it. Respect it or don't go to that gym. It's that simple, right? Like most gyms have rules against lifting barefoot. I personally love lifting, specifically deadlifting and squatting barefoot. I will get as close to the ground as I can because my gym has a rule against barefoot. And that's a liability and a safety thing. I understand. I would do my entire leg day barefoot if they would let me. But they don't. So I respect them and I wear, as flat of a shoe as I possibly can because I hate shoes. I like feeling grounded. I like being able to feel my toes grip and things like that. But because I go to a commercial gym that has rules, I follow them and respect them. I'm not saying break rules or throw a fit about rules. I am saying if there is no rule against someone's attire, mind your own fucking business. You do what you got to come to the gym to do. But the problem is now people are up in arms on social media and you've got pick-me girls coming into the chat saying, yeah, they look like whores. And you've got men like doing the whole what was she wearing bullshit. Like saying if you're coming in with your ass and your tits hanging out, I'm gonna stare. And the reality is the gym is not a social hub. Some people want to say it is, but it's not. You are there to work on yourself. If you went with friends, then maybe, yeah, socialize, whatever. But you are, at the end of the day, at a gym to work on yourself. You are not there for anybody else, and nobody else is going to do your workout for you. So mind your own fucking business. And like I said, I have a weird mix of views. My general views would boil down to mind your own business. Because at the end of the day, right, you can do whatever the hell workout you want. But when you start impacting the industry by screaming about being skinny, the industry will change. Right now, we have the overpopulation of protein products. Why? Because of the muscle mommy era where everyone is obsessed with hitting their protein macros. So every supplement industry company on the planet created a protein product. Now we've gone as far as to have freaking protein chocolate bars that you make s'mores with. I'm sorry, what? Like, just let me have a fucking chocolate bar and a s'more. Like, if it tastes good, and that is a big if, because I give a lot of leniency to protein products, because they're protein products. They're not supposed to be, the ultimate replacement. I'm never going to have a chocolate bar ever again. They're just a slightly better alternative to what I really want. That correction in the population of protein products in the industry came from that CrossFit era where people started talking about macros and building muscle and protein. Now we're going back to skinny. What are we going to see a lot of? We're going to see the skinny teas and the detoxes. Not that those fully went away, but they're going to come back full force and smack you in the fucking face. We have companies like Bloom with the greens and, you know, they give that skinny vibe. And I love Alani, but they also give that perfect skinny sorority girl vibe in their marketing. And their, you know, affiliate partners are literally collegiate sorority girls and probably collegiate athletes. So yeah, you get the skinny athletic bod. And now women are back to, you know, cardio machines nonstop instead of hitting the fucking weights and being shoved out of weight rooms, which is already hard enough, especially if you're not, you know, a power lifter lifting the same amount as the men and you're building up your... Anyways, the things people talk about online and participate in, like skinny talk Pilates, will impact the industry. You'll start seeing, I will put money on it, you will start seeing Pilates studios pop up in every town, just like you used to see, you know, Planet Fitnesses or, you know, bodybuilding gyms or CrossFit gyms. CrossFit is the better alternative, right? I think this is a direct comparison between like the CrossFit Whole30 era and the now Skinny Talk Pilates era. Just like when CrossFit really boomed, this Skinny Talk Pilates thing and Pilates arms or whatever that's going on TikTok is going to make Pilates gyms start popping up everywhere, just like CrossFit gyms in the height of CrossFit did before COVID. It is the new CrossFit. And not that Pilates is a bad workout. I've never really done it. I don't know. All I see is the funny little machines. Anyway, like it just doesn't seem to be my thing. It's not a bad workout. It's the I'm obsessed with Pilates arms. Like you can't get that doing some other training. That bothers me. It's the skinny talk pairing with it where people are body shaming people for simply doing a workout, because there is a video of someone floating around saying that if you're over 200 pounds, you don't belong in a Pilates gym. It's the refocusing on the scale rather than being strong and, you know, body recomp. Because the thing is when you are weight training, the body recomp, the scale might not move at all, but you take that photo, you put on that pair of pants, and your measurements are completely different when you're doing, you know, a proper weight training routine. And that is the frustration. I know what is going on right now is going to completely change the industry with GLP-1s. And if those stay around, which, you know, with RFK Jr., we don't really know. Have they helped a lot of people? Yes. Are they helping the industry? It depends on who you talk to. To me, they're just a tool, just like the surgeries and everything else that came before it. They are a tool. Coaches will still have jobs. They are not removing, you know, nutrition coaches' jobs by simply handing over the keys to a GLP-1. That is not the case. But this obsession with skinny talk, the obsession with slightly right-leaning things like modesty in the gym is going to change the culture once again towards it being even more of a male-dominated space than it already was. It was starting to even out over the CrossFit era, and now it's kind of shifting back to that misogynistic way of, you know, alpha men grunting and hunting. Hunting's not the right word, but you know what I mean. Grunting and throwing weights around in the gym where women feel intimidated to enter that space. And, you know, a lot of people already feel a lot of anxiety when it comes to the gym because of, you know, the body shamers, because of the filmers, because of the one way or another, they are afraid of people's opinions and, you know, going viral because of something they did in the gym that someone filmed and thought was funny. That kind of shit needs to stop if we are going to save the fitness industry. The body shaming of people who look different than you, coach to coach, client to client, whatever it is, because I've watched, you know, a popular fitness podcast, Mind Pump, literally shred men's health for highlighting a coach like Roy Beltz because he doesn't look the part without really even knowing anything about Roy or his content or his story. They just looked at the cover and they pulled up one of Roy's like clapback videos that truthfully doesn't paint the coaches living in bigger bodies in a good light because it was a clapback. You're gonna be a little bit spicy in a clapback. Anyways, that's coaches shredding coaches, right? I don't really care what Roy's body looks like. Is he a good coach? Yes. Cool. don't, like, it was Men's Health choice to highlight him. We can highlight different types of people, right? And, you know, talk about different types of experiences. I get it. There's supposed to be like a health magazine or whatever, but we don't have to, you know, only put skinny model bodies on the front cover of magazines. And I don't say that because I live in a bigger body now. I believe this back in the day, right? A lot of the early 2000s skinny model on magazine kind of looks were unsustainable. That's the word I was looking for. They were not sustainable. Either they were deep in eating disorders and really not something we should be projecting to the youth, if you will, or they were completely, you know, done very, very quickly for a movie or a project or whatever it is, a celebrity that got super skinny because someone told them they had to. And then after that, you know, they gained some weight back because they shot the project they had to do. They weren't meant to be sustainable. And the average population, you want to give them something that's sustainable. And the skinny talk Pilates thing is getting back to the unsustainable, you know, beauty standards and unsustainable fitness standards for women. I struggle being not only a woman, you know, owning my own business in today's politics, but a woman in engineering, a woman in fitness, a woman in gaming, where I, as this political climate continues to change, don't necessarily feel welcomed. I don't feel unwelcomed because I'm me and I don't give a fuck what people think, but I can understand how other people who care a little bit more about their view of the world or how the world views them could be intimidated by the gym and intimidated by, you know, coaches and intimidated by getting help if they want it or need it. I can completely understand how women, people of color, and, you know, specifically women, and I've noticed it more so. I don't know. I can't speak for the people of color, you know, aspect of life, but specifically with women and LGBTQ, I could understand them never wanting to step foot in a gym right now. And that's right now. We haven't even fully turned a shift yet. We are heading that direction in the fitness industry. We are heading towards almost, you know, red-pilled, not just conservative, but fundy style mentality of women, where we are forcing women to always be covered and forcing women to be meek, mild, and under the proper guidance of a male figure in their lives. And I'm not saying that's going to happen overnight. I'm not saying that's even a reality here in the States, because that I understand that can sound like fear-mongering, but given the current, you know, narrative in the fitness space, I definitely can see a lot more controversy and a big shift in the way that women are marketed to, because we already have the pink tax on things for sure. I could see non-co-ed gyms being a thing, safe spaces, if you will, for women and LGBTQ being a gym style that pops up in the future as this push towards conservatism continues in the fitness industry. I didn't think politics, right? They joke that politics affects everything, right? You just don't notice it until you get involved. And I genuinely didn't think there was much other than, you know, some of the nutrition aspects that this administration could do to impact the fitness space. And I didn't think, you know, the conservatism push would bleed into women are whores because they wear a sports bra and shorts to the gym. You're in a gym. What are you supposed to wear? Or like people, you know, constantly making fun of overweight individuals that wear leggings to the gym. Okay, that's literally activewear. That's what it's there for. Why? They want people to get, you know, work on themselves and not be overweight and not be obese, but then make fun of them when they do. And it's something about the fitness industry I've never understood, and it only seems to be getting worse. It doesn't seem to be getting better. There was an era with body positivity where it got better-ish, but then it went too far. I will openly admit that body positivity went too far and has gone too far. And now you've got people using body neutrality because of how far body positivity went. And, you know, bodies are bodies. Weight is weight. Get fit, get healthy, do what you like to do is kind of my 2 cents. But also don't make it impossible for other people to exist in the same space as you. Similar to the argument of you're entitled to a child-free life, not a child-free world. And I fully believe in that. Like, as someone who likely inevitably will remain child-free, I don't know. I never expect, unless I am in adult-only spaces, that I would live in a child-free world. Like, I don't care about kids on planes. It's not something that I typically notice, truthfully. But I do agree with the people who are arguing that, kids shouldn't be at breweries and wineries and things like that. Yes, I know a lot of these businesses are kid friendly, and I think there's a time and a place, right? If the brewery opens in like the mid-afternoon, there was a local sports bar by my house that did like jump houses and funny things for family and kids during the day, but after a certain amount of time it was adults only, and I'm okay with things like that. Right? If a bar wants to support events and bring in food trucks or whatever during the day, and then at 6 or 7 it turns to adults only, that's when your kids gotta go. I don't want kids at the bar, and it's partially for their own safety, right? A bunch of drunk idiots, as someone who grew up around a bunch of drunk idiots, is not really the best environment for kids to just be hanging out in and remembering, truthfully. And that's a different topic entirely with things, but do what you want to do in the gym, but don't make it difficult or impossible or embarrassing or anxiety inducing for someone else to do what they want to do in the gym. Safety and gym rules aside, if someone feels comfortable in a sports bra and shorts, someone feels comfortable in a sports bra and shorts. If someone, as one of my commenters put it, if someone feels comfortable in a jockstrap and fishnets and there's no gym rule against it, they're comfortable in a jockstrap and fishnets. Fuck them, leave them be. Mind your own damn business, do the work in the gym, and don't worry what other people are doing. Yelling at people that they're fat and they just need to get skinny also is, rage bait. It's not going to do anything. And the shifts in the industry will happen because of you putting out content like that. And it'll break people from coming into the industry because they're afraid of us. And I don't want that. And I'm talking more specifically to other coaches here when I say I don't want that, because coaches are almost as bad, if not worse, when it comes to, the rage bait and the bullying people into feeling bad about themselves because, they gained a few pounds, or yelling at people that they're lazy pieces of shit because they don't, want to go sit on a fucking Stairmaster, or that they're taking a class and they're overweight. Like, what do you want them to do? Please enlighten me. What do you want them to do? But also, if you're not a coach and you're in these classes and your coach may have gained a few pounds, and like, as one of the TikTokers put it, you shouldn't be a Pilates coach if you have a gut. Well, I'm sorry to you, but A, everyone has a gut, but B, everyone has different moments in life. When they started coaching, they might have been at the peak of their fitness, and maybe that coach just had a kid and didn't want to tell you their personal life. Maybe that coach had a really bad depressive episode and gained some weight, and they came back and dealt with your fucking judgment for no reason. But also, a coach's physique has nothing to do with their ability to be a good coach. Did you enjoy your class? Was it a good workout for you? Were they attentive to your needs? Good. Then they were a fucking good coach, and leave them the fuck alone. A coach's body is not their business card. And I don't say that just because I am currently a coach in a bigger body that started while I was still on my own weight loss transformation. I say that because I see the industry I loved at one point completely falling apart and going backwards in time. We should all be promoting, Americans being healthy. That shouldn't be a controversy, truthfully. But at the end of the day, every individual needs to want it for themselves. You are not going to slut shame. You are not going to body shame. You are not going to drill shame into people enough to, get them to do the things you want them to do it. They have to be motivated for themselves to do it. Same with business, same with being content creator. You have to be motivated for yourself. And it can't just be about money. It can't just be about a number on the scale. It can't just be about, being miserable in your own head. Whatever it is, you have to have a deeper purpose to all of this. And if your only purpose is to judge and rage bait people on the internet, then maybe you should rethink your life. Because coaching requires a lot of compassion. Coaching requires a lot of patience. Coaching requires a lot of self-reflection too, because you have to be able to admit when you as a coach are the problem and not your clients. And the fitness industry is losing that. The fitness industry is losing the ability to self-reflect. They go with whatever's trending, and unfortunately, what is trending in the fitness industry right now is scaring women out of it, yelling at people that they're fat, and not wanting them to do things about it in your spaces. So, segregation, but for fat people, because that worked so well in history. And, you know, going backwards in the form of what fitness is for women. We no longer get to be muscle mommies, according to these motherfuckers. We have to all be skinny and do Pilates and be, you know, matcha girlies. God fucking help me. Because I like to powerlift. I am creating a program where I get to train like a Viking and a Batman character. What the fuck do you want from me? At the end of the day, everyone should do the things that they like to do. And if you don't like being active, you probably just haven't found the thing that you actually enjoy. Because, you know, when I got told that I had to run and go on a treadmill as my only gym thing, I hated the gym. Legitimately hated the fucking gym. When I started lifting and going with friends and not my mother and, you know, training for a roller derby team or training for random events that I wanted to do that had nothing to do with running, I was happy in the gym. And that's the kind of stuff, your thing might not be in the gym. That was just my experience. You have to find the thing you enjoy doing, whether it's hiking, whether it's swimming, whether it's weightlifting, whether it's whatever it is. You have to find the thing you like. And if it's not the traditional gym, that's great. But promoting being active is more important than just shaming people for doing the things that they enjoy. And fitness should be a positive thing. It shouldn't be a shame spiral dumpster fire. And that's where I feel like we're going. And honestly, that has nothing to do with right versus left. The Trump admin RFK Jr., that's really just, let's all mind our own fucking business, do our own inner work on ourselves, and become better as a society because we worked on ourselves and minded our own business. Yeah, that's my rant about the fitness industry today. As a coach, I am really struggling. Not only because, you know, at the end of the day, insurances don't respect personal trainers, insurances don't respect nutrition coaches. The only real like health and fitness help you can get from like an insurance, usually, sometimes you can get HSA to approve personal training and things like that, but it's not easy. The only health and fitness help you can really get from medical insurance is, you know, surgeries and GLP-1s. And even that's debatable. They don't respect preventative care currently, and I had a hope that maybe this administration would actually help with that. Thus far, they haven't really proven that to be a realistic hope, and they kind of seem to hate small businesses. So why would they support things like personal trainers? I don't know. So at the end of the day, when the economy is tanking and people don't have extra money, personal training and nutrition coaching is a luxury. It is not something everybody can afford, which is why I'm pivoting a lot of my content to be a lot of just free shit over on my fitness channel, Coach KC. I'm focusing it mostly on like gamers, right? A lot of my stuff is going to be how to gamify fitness, how to do fitness at home as a gamer, nutrition for gamers, right? Specifically with like streaming and snacks in between and everything like that. I am focused on gamers. A lot of it is just general help tips, and I do have that channel linked somewhere around here. I don't know, it'll be in the description for sure, but I am pivoting to be just a lot of free fitness content, a lot of help, a lot of I tried this so you don't have to kind of things, because yes, I will always be a coach, and if you care to show an interest, I do have my online application as well in my videos, but it is more beneficial to me to be able to give away all the free tips of how to do things at home and on a budget than it is to sell my coaching at the moment, because the industry is kind of fuckety and we're back to thinking, you know, status of hierarchy means you actually are a good person. And, you know, just because you make millions of dollars means that you know what you're talking about. And that's not always true. And at the end of the day, I want people to be able to do what they can at home. Fitness to me is not a luxury, but fitness to insurance companies is a luxury because they make more money. Realistically, this is not a red-pilled, you know, theory. At the end of the day, medical companies and insurance companies make more money when people are sick. I'm not saying they're making you sick. I'm saying facts. They make more money when you're sick. And so preventative care has never been a thing in their minds because they don't make money off of preventative care, really. And that's why, you know, supporting things like personal training and nutrition coaches is never going to be a fucking thing. Despite my hopes and dreams for, you know, the government actually helping small business. But that's hilarious. Anyways, as a coach right now, I am trying to focus on giving away as much free content because I understand that while it shouldn't be, fitness and nutrition coaching right now is a luxury to a lot of people who can't afford it. And I also will always keep my prices affordable because I know colleagues of mine that literally charge upwards of $500+ a month for, you know, a Google form. And I'm not saying they don't do a lot of work behind the scenes. They do a lot of connection and communication and help and accountability. But at the end of the day, when it comes to nutrition coaching, it's not that hard. It's really not. And it's not like you as an individual are complicated, but the actual work you have to do as a nutrition coach isn't that complicated. They spend more time getting more leads to make more money than they do actually coaching, realistically. And a lot of them, you'll see them as the face value on social media. I'm like leaking all the secrets right now. You'll see them as the face on social media, but then they'll pass you off to an assistant coach because they don't actually coach anymore. They just are the face of the company. Yeah, welcome to fitness. And I don't love that kind of stuff either. Like if I'm going to be a non-faceless account on the internet, you're going to get me. I would rather have a smaller roster of people and make money with other things like YouTube and TikTok or merch or whatever, or serve a lot more people and have a team do all the YouTube stuff, then raise my prices that are so ridiculous. I can't fathom the idea to me that even with my personal training, because a lot of my nutrition coaching friends aren't also personal trainers. They have to hire out to get the personal training side, or, you know, just sell one of Mind Pump's programs or something like that. They're not personal trainers. I am. I can tailor all of that to you. I am also a nutrition coach. And the thing is, I still could not fathom, unless I am literally sitting there right next to you and like giving you a full meal plan, which, spoiler alert, I'm not allowed to do. That is out of my scope of practice. $500, like, even I can't. I say this and I spend a lot of money on my business coach, but at the end of the day, my business coach is there for me whenever I need him. And I just don't utilize that feature as often as I should. Right? And then it's the same thing with fitness clients. But again, I still, for the amount of work required per client, I can't imagine, you know, reading people for filth for just trying to get healthy. Especially like with the business thing. I've explained this before in the past with the business mentor, right? He makes me money. I get that money back that I'm paying him, you know? With fitness, you get your body, but like you don't ever get the financial recoup. And I don't know that I could ever justify paying someone. You could be the best nutrition coach in the world, training me to be a fucking Olympic athlete. I still don't know that I could convince myself to spend that kind of money. And that's why I would never, I will raise my prices eventually from what they are right now. But I'm not raising them right now because the economy's fucking whack. And yes, that would help me, but that doesn't help my clients. And at the end of the day, it is about the people who hire me. It's not about me. And yes, I will probably raise them when I fill my roster, not if. When I fill my roster, I will, or like halfway fill my roster, whatever, depending on the workload that each client requires. Because some clients are different than others. Some are very easygoing, don't need you much, and then others are very needy, especially with an asynchronous style of communication that I have with my clients. However, it's just, I don't know, I feel like the fitness industry is starting to read people for filth, and it's getting scammy, and it's always had scam scams, but it feels more and more dirty because as people get more and more desperate, the more that money grab comes in, right? COVID was another big example of the fitness industry being scammy and slimy. And I don't love being a part of it. I want to be a bright light in an industry that is kind of always going to be around, but goes through phases that are really, really bad. And I think we're about to enter yet another one of those really, really bad phases if we keep up with the skinny talk, body shaming. And it's not because of the body shaming, right? It's because of what some of these things represent and how they connect to real, like, outside of the fitness industry life things, and what it means for women, and what it means for, you know, LGBTQ, and what it means for people of color, and what it means for whatever minority group is currently being attacked. I have a lot of privilege as you know, a white upper class person, and I recognize that, but I also still am a woman in almost entirely male dominated spaces. And it's not a fun time. It's not. But simply the push towards conservatism and men trying to shove me out makes me want to do it even more. And proof that I can do it better than them, truthfully. So, yeah. That's that. And you might say, take this person's mic away for her views. Yeah, okay. Anyone can get on a podcast and talk about shit. If you don't like it, move on. That is how I feel about it today. But that was my first intro into this new kind of format for the podcast, where I'm talking about fitness things and how it relates to, you know, my business and how it's impacting my business. And I do want to do a deeper dive on things like GLP-1s and gastric bypass surgeries and, you know, get into tips and things like that. I do a lot of the tip stuff on my other channel, but it is important to, you know, talk about it in relation to business and everything else. So I appreciate you for being here in all of the chaos and fuckery. And I'm sure this category in particular will be one that I will probably have the most guests on to talk about, just because it's business, it's fitness. I have past clients. I have, you know, not partners, but business friends and whatever that I bring on. And gaming, I might have some streamer friends on as well, but we shall see. We'll see where all of this goes as this podcast continues to evolve. But for now, I thank you for being here and enjoying the chaos and definitely dealing with my fuckery, because I'm sure I went on about 5 million side tangents today. But I appreciate you for being here, and I hope you enjoyed the chaos and, you know, dealt with the fuckery.